Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Man in America. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse, coming to you live with a lot of crazy news to discuss with you. I'm sure you've been following what's been happening, and there is so much to unpack. And tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about Biden and some just strange anomalies with him and some potential ideas or theories about what's really happening. And we have also a lot of updates about the Trump shooting and some deep dives into some stuff. So tonight's episode is going to be a little more conspiratorial, as you might consider. We're going to be talking about MK Ultra, about AI cloning with recreating people and fake deep fakes of people. We're talking about the CIA mask program and some very real explainers of how it works and that validates this. And we're not going to be living in tinfoil hat land. I'm going to be showing you actual documents and information, because if you look around us right now, okay, looking at, let's just take a look at the Trump shooting, the assassination attempt leading up to Biden disappearing, the letter being sent out by him with the signature that didn't match, not on official letterhead, him appearing, after 5 days of being missing, and some very strange things happening. And when we look at all this together, it's very obvious to me that there are lots of holes in this. There's a lot of information that doesn't add up. There's a lot of strange coincidences. And even though some people may say, hey, don't go into that conspiracy theory type stuff, this is the world that we live in is so strange and so crazy that I find that oftentimes it's going to these more esoteric or looked down upon or shunned topics by a lot of the mainstream folks that we start to find our answers and help us make sense of it. Right. As the old saying goes, when truth is stranger than fiction. And that's where we're at right now. Actually, the world that we're living in is like some weird sci-fi novel. But this is our reality. So it's going to be a fun ride. I think you're going to enjoy it. These are the kinds of shows I really enjoy doing. I don't like just focusing on, okay, what's the latest news and the latest hearing and these things. Like, I want to go deep. I want to go, why is this happening? How does an event happening today relate to some CIA declassified document from the 60s? Like, that's where my mind goes, because that's the way that I'm trying to understand the world. And that's the way it makes the most sense to me. So before we jump into the show, a few just quick notes for you. First off, make sure if you're watching on Rumble, well, if you're not watching on Rumble, I invite you to go watch on Rumble. Either Rumble or X, the two main places that I encourage people to watch this show, because it's completely uncensored there. But if you're on Rumble, make sure you hit that green follow button below. Make sure you're following the channel. That's your first assignment. Do it right now, okay? Hit that green button. Boom, done. All right, let me know in the chat when you've done that. The other thing, though, is that we have an incredible giveaway. So let me open this page up for you. So what we're doing here with Man in America is we are giving away 5 ounces of pure silver every Friday. So I'll be announcing the winners this Friday on social media. So make sure you're following me. And so what we're doing is literally we have a drawing that we're giving away. These are 5 ounces, or these are 1 ounce Buffalo rounds, 1 ounce of pure silver, 0.999, and we're giving them away. So if you want to sign up for that, all you do is you go to maninamerica.com/win, which is the webpage I'm showing you right here. You put your name and your email in there, and you're going to be entered in. Now, the cool thing is that you're entered into the drawing every week, because it's a weekly drawing. Say you don't get it this week, you might get it next week. Or say you win this week, you might win again next week, right? And we're going to keep doing this because everyone loves silver, right? I mean, who doesn't love just the sound of that silver clanking in your hand, right? What a beautiful sound. Anyway, so jumping into today's show. Now, I'm not sure, perhaps you're familiar with the idea of predictive programming. The Simpsons are famous for it, right? There's been so many instances where something has happened, and something oftentimes very strange, like Trump coming down the escalator, right? And people will dig up and they'll find that that was a scene that was actually shown in The Simpsons before it actually happened. Now, there's a lot of different ideas as to why this happens like this, okay? There's these different ideas of, okay, what is this? And are they telling us what they're going to be doing? Like, that's one of the big ideas, is that there's this belief that the powers that be, before they enact something, they have to show us that they're going to do it as a way of getting us to accept it, basically. It's kind of like this idea that, I think that this is, I won't get too deep into this conversation, but in the battle of good and evil, I think that one of the greatest gifts that we have from God is our free will. And I really believe that even the evil on this earth or another dimension surrounding this earth, Satan, whatever you want to refer to it as, that evil still knows that we have free will, right? The evil is still bound by God's law. And so because we have free will, they can't just force us to do everything against our will. And so that's why I think there's this idea that they show us what they're going to do. And if we accept it and then they do it, they say, look, it's your fault, right? It's your fault that something bad happened to you, even though I did it because I showed you and you didn't reject it, right? But there's a lot of other theories around this predictive programming, but we're going to be diving into something very strange. So the first thing I'll bring up is exactly this. So as we know, Kamala Harris is the front runner for the Democratic Party. Now, whether she still is when we get to November, there's a lot of speculation, a lot of discussion. Is she a placeholder for Michelle or Hillary? Is she actually going to be the one? I know that as of today, Barack Obama hasn't come out and endorsed Kamala, and he believes that she's not strong enough to beat Trump. And the polls are showing that, though there's obviously some polls that are saying, oh, Kamala's going to destroy Trump. And yeah, I believe polls like I believe the weather reports. It's like I think they're lying most of the time, but they have all kinds of ways of manipulating the data, just like they manipulate the weather. Imagine that. So, but getting into this predictive programming, though, I'm going to pull up this up. This is a tweet. Okay. I'll get into this image right here. This was the image on my thumbnail today, right? It's this sign of Oprah Kamala, 2024, or Kamala, whatever you pronounce her. I apologize if I've screwed up your name, Miss Kamala Harris, Mrs. Harris. Anyway, so what this post says here, he says, since Kamala Harris is now the presidential nominee, who will her VP be? So that picture I showed you is from an Amazon Prime show called Upload. And that was from season 1, episode 1. And on this video, which I'll show you the video. Actually, I'll play it for you really quickly here. Okay. No need for volume. So this right here is it. Season 1, episode 1. This is the poster on the wall in the entryway. And a big shout out to MJ Truth Ultra. So MJ Truth, who he's a great source of information, and tell him I say hi, in one of his comments there. Anyway, you can see though, it's showing a poster of Kamala and Oprah for 2024, right? Oprah Kamala. Anyway, where it gets interesting though, is that this was from season 1, episode 1. So in the post, what it says here is that season 1's principal photography took place from March 5th to May 10th, 2019. The original release date was May 1st, 2020. So he says the funny thing about this is that Joe Biden announced his VP selection on August 11th, 2020. So at that point, Kamala was a nobody, right? She polled less than 0.05%. Now she's the presidential nominee. So this is just strange, okay? Because again, this was filmed before she was even announced as Biden's VP. She was just literally, as you said, she was like one of the last candidates that was, vying for it. You would never have thought about her. Okay. And she wasn't that popular either. So the fact that they filmed this and they put this poster in, which again is just strange. Like, what are they telling us here? And now look, if Oprah comes out and enters the race, then okay, we've got something on our hands now. But it's just really strange that this was filmed before she was even announced to be a VP. She wasn't anywhere close to the White House, yet they have this in this Amazon show. Anyway, just a very, very strange coincidence. And again, going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, what are these coincidences? Are there such thing as a coincidence? Like, what's really behind this? And I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. But to me, there's something very strange going on here. It's almost like we're just watching a movie, right? And there's a lot of people that say that, right? But it's literally, it's like you look around what's happening in America, it just feels like it's a movie. It really does. I mean, like my job as a journalist and investigator and a host of a show trying to uncover and talk about what's happening every day, like, especially lately, it's just been absolutely wild. So, I mean, it's an exciting time to be alive. Like, at least we can give it that, right? It's an exciting time to be alive. All right, so jumping into the this Biden story right now. Okay, so the timeline of this, Biden was in Vegas. He was going to be showing up to do some speeches. He got COVID, as they say. He puts out a strange tweet, says "I'm sick" or something like that, and he basically disappears. And there's all these different reports coming out. Charlie Kirk had gotten a lot of information coming into him of people saying that there was some sort of medical emergency. I know Laura Loomer also had a lot of reporting on this, that there was some sort of medical emergency, and Biden was rushed off somewhere back to Delaware, or supposedly to a big hospital, Johns Hopkins Hospital. But there's a lot of speculation about what really happened. Was there a medical event? Was there a stroke? Was it just COVID? And he was gone for 5 days. And there were a lot of people saying, look, is he still alive? Right? It's a fair question to ask. I mean, he's an old guy. I mean, it's people do die. It's just part of life, right? Especially when you get to your 80s. And his health does appear to be really failing him. He's not doing that great, it seems. And so the first thing, which I covered in my most recent live show, was Kamala had a press conference to her, the staff, and supposedly Joe Biden called in. And he called in. Now, what's strange though is there's a Freudian slip, and it sounded like what Kamala was saying was that it's nice to hear you on this recording, but she kind of stopped herself after saying "Rook," and then she continued to say on this phone call. So there's a lot of speculation of, was that actually him calling? Was it a recording? Was it AI? Which we're going to be looking at some AI stuff, and the AI's ability to recreate a voice. We'll be looking at that in today's show. But there's a lot of questions surrounding that. And so it really furthered the speculation, because we've got Biden, who had disappeared. Now, keep in mind, amidst this time of being gone is when this tweet comes out from him with this letter not on an official letterhead, not with a signature that matches previous signatures, saying that he's dropping out of the presidential race. So people are like, okay, this is insane. We haven't heard from this guy. Now we have this tweet coming out. He still disappears. He comes back, on a phone call with Kamala, which again sounded strange. It sounded a little bit off. There's a certain lisp to the talking. Now, there was a viral video that went around that got millions of views, where some guys had uploaded it to one of these AI labs that said it was an AI voice, but that was ended up being a joke that he was playing. So it seemed like there's some validity to it. But again, with a lot of what goes viral on Twitter, you look behind the scenes, you look under the hood, and you realize, okay, it's actually not real. So Biden was then set to appear, I think it was the next day, in front of, I think this was I think it was yesterday, I forget whether it was yesterday or this morning. My timing is going off a bit because I've been in this stuff too much. And so he shows up, right? And I'll play the video for you. And he gets out, he's back, right? Everyone's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it wasn't an AI voice, and maybe he is still alive, and yeah, he looks pretty healthy. And you're watching the video, and he gets out of the Secret Service car, and he waves, and he walks up the stairs, and he salutes and enters into Air Force One. But that particular video, when you look at it, it's really strange. And one of the strangest things about it, and I'll show this, but as he's walking up the stairs, I mean, look, we've seen a lot of Biden stair videos, right? It's not an easy task for him to handle stairs, either up or down. It's not because he's, an idiot. He's just old, right? It's just the reality, right? A lot of people in their 80s, they can't do stairs very well. But in this video, he's walking up those stairs. I mean, he's just trucking up the stairs to Air Force One in a speed that it seems like we haven't seen in years from him. So I'm gonna pull the video up right here. Okay, so this is a tweet came out. This is from Brandy with a B, and it's Joe Biden climbing stairs 5 days apart. Okay, so the video on the left is July 23rd, Biden climbing. This is the video on the left is the one where, I'll zoom in on that one first. Okay. And we'll play this a few times. So this is the video on the left. Okay. Let's just take a look at him climbing these stairs. This is from, let's see, which day was it? The 23rd, right? This is, okay, yesterday, right? Now you can see, now there's a different angle where you see it a little better. But either way, you can see he's climbing up the stairs, his hands hovering over the handlebar, no problem, quickly. Now let's look at him on July 17th, okay, which was just 5 days before that, and let's see what he looks like climbing up the stairs 5 days before. Now look at the speed. Okay, now if you look at the two and side by side, it's a big difference. Okay, now there are different speculations, and again, think what you will of this, but that's just one of many things that seemed odd. Even his posture when he in this particular video he got out, and there's a tweet from Naomi Wolf that I want to read here, but so Colin Rugg, she was responding to this tweet by Colin Rugg, who said, "Just in, President Joe Biden." Actually, here's the video. I'll go and play this for you. This is the video. I'll turn the audio mostly down because it's just a lot of background noise. Or maybe it's actually not even have any audio on it. So this is Joe Biden, stepping out. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Watch him climbing these stairs.
Can Harris beat Trump? Can Harris beat Trump, Mr. President?
So again, just flying up those stairs, okay? So Colin Rugg, in his tweet, he says, just in, President Joe Biden seen in public for the first time in nearly a week, debunking conspiracy theories online. Now, Naomi, I felt, had a very mature response to that. And Naomi, I know Naomi, great woman. She's a very rational woman. And she, just a few short years ago, was one of the like a pretty significant front-running feminist and actually quite liberal. And it's been amazing seeing her transformation and her opening up and just exploring what's really happening in the world and how she's shifted her views on everything. But she still has it's great though, because she brings this very critical perspective. She doesn't just buy things quickly. And so it's nice to see her process of thinking about what's happening. So what she says in her tweet here, she goes, "I'm sorry, but we need to be more vigilant than this and not be intimidated by charges of generating conspiracy theories." Right? Like, and actually, there you go. There's the summary for my show today, is that we need to be vigilant, and we cannot be worried about being labeled as a conspiracy theorist, because what we're seeing is all the conspiracy theories end up being true. Okay. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Naomi, for saying that, because I'm someone that I'm going out on a limb, and you could say I'm risking my reputation, or, in a lot of ways, I'm actually strengthening it because I'm willing to ask the hard questions, and I'm willing to look into places that other people are mocked for looking. But it's just really important that we can't be scared of being called a conspiracy theorist, because, again, truth is stranger than fiction these days. So her tweet, continuing, says, the press corps is kept hundreds of feet away for over an hour in this clip. The president does not speak to them or answer questions. He moves with better mobility than he has had for years. People need to press their demands for accounting of a safe, sentient, unimpaired, or not newly impaired Biden until a responsive president is answering live questions in real time. I hope that happens this afternoon. What does the schedule say? Better to ask too many questions than not enough. And so these are really, really good points that she's making. And it's worth us asking. And it's a fair point too, okay? The fact that if you look at the timeline of this, that Biden's in Vegas, something happens, a medical emergency, he then disappears. There's a lot of speculation. He's gone for almost a week. And then the first time we see him, and in the midst of that time, he has pulled out of the presidential race, pretty significant. Yet the first time he then shows himself publicly is he's so far away from the press, they can't ask him a question. His audio is muted. We can't hear him talk. And all we see is him get out of a car, walk up some stairs, and go enter into the Air Force One. That's it. Okay. It's really suspicious. Okay. So, and even that, tonight he gave another address, which we'll be talking about, which in a lot of ways was equally suspicious. It wasn't him again answering questions from reporters. It was probably a pre-recorded, speech of some sort. But there's a lot of strange anomalies in that speech as well. So we'll be continuing with that. So here we go. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So his recent announcement that he gave tonight, he addressed the public, from sitting in what looks like the Oval Office. I'm not sure. They've got multiple sets that they use. So maybe he was in one of the Oval Office sets. Maybe it was AI. I don't know. But here again, another very valid perspective from Naomi Wolf, who says, okay, you saw the White House speech, not a statement in front of humans, no questions taken, skin tone more orange, facial skin tone did not match his hands, which were more brown, something super weird I don't even understand vis-a-vis the neck. Where did 80% of his facial lines go? Maybe Biden rebounded in 5 days from mortal illness, changed color, got a lot of Botox, but we're living in a very weird world with very new technologies. So we should ask, and we should ask any question. Again, I think it's great. I think it's very good. So I want to jump into this. There's been a lot of speculation coming out surrounding this. And one of the most important, one of the bigger conversations is the most recent video that we came out today with him is it even him? Is it AI generated? And is it a deep fake? It's very plausible. Okay. Now, if it's a deep fake, they can do it with the video. They can also do it with the voice. So I'm going to play a little clip from you here that is showing what can be done using AI. Okay. So this is, I'll pull it up here for you. Okay. So this is actually different size window for you. There you are. This is a guy, it's a TikTok video of a bald white guy that's using AI to change his voice into Morgan Freeman's voice and to have Morgan Freeman's the video of him match the guy's expressions and everything. So the reason I think it's brilliant he used Morgan Freeman because most of us recognize Morgan Freeman's voice. It's such an iconic voice. So I'll play this for you. This is about 56 seconds long, but I'll play it for you because this just shows, and this is technology that's probably 30 years behind the actual military technology. I mean, who knows what kind of tech they have, but what we can see here, the technology that you and I have access to, even with that, you can create very convincing deep fakes, etc. So I'll play this for you right now.
I'm not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
So, an interesting video, cool video, but he says you're entering into the world of synthetic reality. And that is such an important statement that we are living in the world of synthetic reality, that the reality that we perceive around us is actually to a point where it's synthetic, especially because we're looking through screens and devices and things can be created that can be deceptive. I mean, I could literally be an AI robot generating my entire being could be AI. I may not even exist. Like that's how real this stuff is. Now, hopefully you believe I do exist, and hopefully that like this is a real beard there. Trust me, my 5-month-old daughter pulls on it every day. But this is just where we live in, and so that is looking at the AI and the synthetic reality aspect of it. But the other thing that we have to be looking at is masks and body doubles. Now, this has been one of the most mocked conspiracy theories that of the modern day is all the different people talking about, okay, all these different Bidens that we're seeing, are they the same? Is it the same Biden? Is it a body double? Is it a guy in a mask? And for anybody to say, is that Biden or is it some guy wearing a mask? Like instantly you see the reaction, like, oh, you're a conspiracy theory. You're one of those Biden wears a mask type guys, or that, it's not even him or it's a clone or whatever it is. And, so as it relates to the masks though, I mean, this is real technology. So I've got a video to show you. I'll pull it up as I'm getting ready for it. So I've got a video to show you, which is going to be mind blowing. So it's about, I'll pull it up here so I can show you. So it's about Jonah Mendez. So Jonah Mendez, this woman that's featured in this video, she's the former CIA chief of disguise. And this is a video of her describing their spycraft and specifically using masks as creating disguises. So look at what she's talking about here. And then especially towards the end of the video, it's about 4 minutes long. I'll play the whole thing 'cause it's really well done, really interesting. But towards the end of the video, what she says is basically, look, this is the old technology. Like, who knows what they're doing now? It's kind of eerie what she's alluding to, but I'll play this for you because anybody that thinks that you're a whack job for thinking that, Biden could be some guy in a mask as a body double, show them this and be like, yeah, actually, CIA makes these masks. Actually, one of my family members used to work for one of the big companies that did a lot of black budget military stuff. And, he's told me that, at one point they took him, he had, very high clearance, and they took him, they showed him where they were at with this. It was literally like the CIA was one of their clients, and they were actually working on the mask technology, right? It was big engineering firm that he was working for. And so he saw these masks, right? I mean, it's the real deal. So I'm going to play this video for you because this might help explain some things. Okay. So let's go and play this again. It's about 4 minutes long. So don't worry. You're going to love it though.
It could keep you safe. It could keep you from getting shot. And it could keep you alive. A mask. People are amazed that there was a job title called Chief of Disguise. And most women I know wish they'd had that job. Sounded like fun. Actually, it was fun. I don't think another intelligence agency in the world devoted the time and the budget to disguise like we did. Disguise became a form of body armor. In the Spy Museum, we call a mask 5-second mask. They proved invaluable. You could change your ethnicity. You could change your gender. You could change your nationality. And if you needed to, you could actually become another person. When I was Chief of Disguise, we had already begun using Hollywood stunt double masks. That was technology that came straight out of LA. We worked with men named John Chambers, who had done all the makeup for Planet of the Apes.
He had a definite gift for mimicry.
They could spend 5 hours putting on a mask. They could spend an hour taking it off. And then they could shoot it again and again and again until they got the lights just right. Our mask had to be perfect. In the car. When you got out of the car, you had to know without a mirror that you were good. The point of all of our masks was speed. You had to imagine that you were going to be in situations that you couldn't even anticipate. An officer somewhere picks this thing up, just puts it on. 5 seconds. And knows that it's right, that he's invisible. If you had to sit and tinker with this thing, if you needed a mirror, it wasn't useful to you at all. The masks were full-face latex masks. It allows you to furrow your brow. It allows you to squint your eyes. It allows you to speak. You don't. The specific mask we're talking about would fit just one person. The first thing to do is to make a face impression. If you've been to a dentist and never had a dental impression, it's the same thing. It's just your face, not your teeth. So they would have added to his face. They could rearrange his face a bit and give him a new face that would fit perfectly over his real face. We never used human hair. We always used a synthetic. The idea of a man washing the hair on his mask and making it look nice when that was all done was never going to happen. The synthetic hair, you couldn't hurt it, basically. You could wear your mask in a rainstorm and your hair would still be okay.
Very human.
And the masks, more than once, were taken off in a moment of terror and crushed down and put under arms and in armpits. They would fit in armpits if they needed to. That was part of the design. The mask is the culmination of a lot of work that we did at CIA over a period of, I say 10 years, to developing that technology. It was a big challenge to come up with something that finally actually animated and worked to really fool a person closer than 3-4 feet from you. But we did.
They learned the art.
We actually brought Hollywood back into our labs at one point to look at what we had done.
All right. So I saw the comments there. I apologize if there's any kind of audio issue. And yes, this is live. I'm not sure what would have caused that, but we'll make sure we check that out for next time. So again, I apologize if there's any kind of audio with that. But what you can see there is that you can, like, this is a CIA program. Actually, this lady was the chief of disguise, and as she she says at the end of the video, what she's saying is, look, everything I'm presenting to you, this is old technology. Right? Who knows what's actually being done now? Okay, so make up your own mind, see what you think. Okay, continuing on. So we're now going to be jumping into the Trump assassination attempt. There's a lot of information that's continuing to come out about that, but today what we're going to be exploring is the idea of MK Ultra. And so there's some declassified documents to show you and some information, because I think it might help us piece together what's actually happening. So before we jump into that, though, just have a quick update. So quick sponsor here. So Sweetamine, this is one of the show sponsors, and it's a great company. I'll make this quick for you, but it's important. So basically what Sweetamine does is it gives you glycine, right? So it is literally, it's just a sweetener that has glycine in it. There's 8 milligrams of glycine. You put it in your coffee in the morning and you think, okay, what's the big about glycine? So what glycine does is your body, if you sprain an ankle, you get a sunburn or whatever, you get inflammation. Okay. So actually what the founder of Sweetamine has discovered is that inflammation is actually not natural for the body. The reason we are so inflamed is because our bodies actually lack this glycine. Now, the number one way you get glycine is actually through the bones and the things of a cow that we typically throw away. We eat muscle meat, okay, and then we throw away the bones and the organs. Actually, the glycine is in the bones and the organs and the tendons and the cartilage. So you see a lot of people doing collagen, right? How collagen helps with bone, with your joints, everything. Same concept. So the glycine, when you take glycine consistently and your levels are high of it, it means that actually your body doesn't really experience inflammation very much. It's greatly reduced. So a lot of the pain, struggles, et cetera, that we have is actually caused by a lack of glycine. Okay, so you can try it out. It has it in Sweetamine. It's great. It's a little sweetener you put in your coffee, whatever, in the morning, and you have your glycine. And a lot of people that they keep going back for more and more because they find that, wow, it's the one thing that actually gets rid of my sore joints or inflammation. So to check it out, you go to mysweetamine.com/Seth. So again, it's mysweetamine.com/Seth. And you also, there's a promo code Seth that you can use to get a special discount. And how it works also, you get the first, you buy it, you get like the first trial of it. I think it's like $20 to get a box of it. And if you don't like it, it doesn't work for you, just email them, say, hey, it doesn't work, I want my money back. Money's back for you. So it's there's no returning the product and that kind of stuff. Very easy. So again, that's mysweetamine.com/Seth. Okay, so continuing on with the Trump stuff. So I want to pull this up first off because this is, again, here we are being mocked, right? Here, I'm surprised I'm not mentioning this article because I've been covering this a lot. So here, this is NBC News saying how the second shooter conspiracy theory spread after the Trump assassination attempt. So we've talked on this show, and I know a lot of other folks have been talking about the idea that there's a second, maybe even a third shooter. Okay, so of course, whenever we're over the target, the mainstream media has to come out and say, you know what? Nope, this is a conspiracy theory. It's ungrounded. Okay, here is like the subhead to this is so funny. Okay, the FBI says the gunman acted alone, and the Secret Service says there's no evidence of a second shooter. This hasn't stopped the speculation online. Of course, you know what? It's my fault. I should have just trusted what the FBI said. They've never failed us. They figured out what happened with JFK. They figured out what happened with the Vegas shooting. They've been on top of everything. They were on top of the laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, that, they've been protecting us from this misinformation. So we should be, of course, just trusting them when they come out and say that there was no second shooter, right? So that's just worth mentioning. But what we're going to talk about today, there was a hearing. Okay, so the police commander, so a Pennsylvania State Police colonel testified before a House panel. And I have a video to show you from this. It's about a 2-minute video that really expands a lot of this discussion. A lot of the questions that we've been having about this are asked, and you can see everything in this guy's body language and how he's answering. So I'll play the video for you. This is just watch this. It's 2 minutes 20 seconds, but just watch. This is good. But there's a lot for us to talk about from this.
I'm just going to say it. Are you aware, sir, that many Americans believe this was very likely not a lone shooter, but a coordinated assassination attempt? Have Have you been getting those messages from people like I have?
I have not, sir.
You haven't? Well, there's a lot of people in this room that have been getting the same messages. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a lot of Americans are like, this doesn't add up, this doesn't make sense, guys? How could this many things have gone wrong? Right? Like the things I pointed out, a 20-year-old kid, got 150 yards of the President of the United States with an AR-15, flew a drone to conduct site surveillance, was spotted with a rangefinder ranging targets, then lost, had advanced explosive devices on him with no military training. Nobody was placed in the most obvious spot to conduct counter-sniper operations. I was a sniper in the SEAL team, Colonel. As soon as I got out of the SUV and I saw that sniper, that water tower, I was like, that's exactly where I'd be. Put me right there. So obvious. After partisan attempts to bankrupt him, imprison him for 750 years, and countless depictions as a modern-day Hitler, are you surprised, sir, that a lot of Americans are like, maybe there's more to the story?
I wouldn't begin to speculate about what the American people think, sir.
Colonel, did your team make entry and conduct investigation at the suspect's home prior to the shooting?
Excuse me, sir.
Did your team make entry and conduct any investigation at the suspect's home?
I believe we had people that participated in that securing of it. There were bomb assets that we provided.
Mr. Chairman, can I have 30 more seconds?
Yeah, I'll let everybody come.
Okay.
On the night of, since then, none.
Did you get any reports from any of your agents of anything?
Okay, so again, I'm seeing some. I apologize for the audio issue. We're working on making some improvements to this, so I apologize if there's any other audio issues. But so that video, he continues, and basically, I'm gonna pull up the next thread for this because it really helps to ask the right questions. This is from MJ Truth over on Twitter. So in that discussion, what comes out, it says the shooter's home was reportedly without silverware, trash, and extremely clean, like a medical lab. So that was Representative Eli Crane, I think out of Arizona, who was questioning the state police commissioner, Colonel Paris. So the fact that, okay, this guy's home was extremely clean. They said it was like a medical lab. Okay, no trash, no silver, no silverware. And so that's one thing. Okay, the guy's parents were both social workers. They worked in some sort of level of dealing with psychology. Okay, red flag, not necessarily all the time. But as you can see with what MJ Truth is saying here, he's saying, look, MK Ultra, anyone? I mean, there's a lot of these different factors that point to the fact that maybe this kid was part of some program and he was being used, being set up as a patsy, like, Oswald, any number of people throughout history that have been set up as, taking the fall, right? So I'm going to continue though. So here you go. So Thomas Crook's parents were licensed social workers, okay? Licensed social workers, again, and we dig into the actual records of this, both his parents, strangely enough, were licensed social workers. Now, if you've studied a lot of these government programs, MK Ultra, the child trafficking, et cetera, what you find is that a lot of times the people that are involved in this stuff work for the government, right? Like the Child Protection Services is one of the biggest child trafficking rings. Okay, so now again, I'm not demonizing everybody who works in the government or anyone who has these kinds of positions, but it's helpful to understand that that might be one of those little coincidences that connects the dots. Okay, so here's an actual thread from this guy named Gray. And I might see if I can interview him because he's got some really interesting stuff. And here's what he says, okay? He says, I'm a former NOC special agent who survived an attempted termination and more after whistleblowing on behavioral modification programs where children were being brainwashed and used for crimes against humanity. I can tell you that Thomas Crooks 100% fits the bill of having been brainwashed and used, regardless of further specifics. So he has a bunch of information here. But here, one thing he said, that he says, know that there have long been groups of defectors, therapists, and others who've been trying to stop these programs. And he gets in the background here, but this guy, I'm doing some research on him, and I think he was recently on Zach Payne with Red Pill 78, did an interview. And it seems like this guy is actually quite legitimate, like that he was someone that was in these programs and he's now become a whistleblower. And even on the interview with Zach Payne, he had to wear a ski mask and he had a voice thing that was protecting his voice because he can't come out and identify who he is because they'll come after him. So, but what's interesting is that his analysis of this, and I could do a whole show on this specifically, points to something significant happening with this kid, right? He wasn't just some average random kid. There was even the cell phone tracking data that came out from Tony Segura, that showed there's a cell phone specifically that was visiting him, that was also visiting the DC area near the FBI headquarters. Okay, there was a Twitter thread that had gone viral talking about how this guy actually had an FBI email, that Crooks had an FBI email. Seems like it's debunked, but also got deleted very quickly in a very strange way. Is there truth to it? I don't know. But again, it just seems like there's a lot of information that lines up with, would this guy be an asset? Now, what I'm going to be getting into is, okay, let's take a look at this right here. Okay, this is a New York Times article. And so for people that say, okay, well, MK Ultra, is there any truth to it? So this goes back. This is the New York Times in 1978. Okay. And there's an article, which I'll pull up the next page for it to show you a little better. That's titled CIA Documents Tell of 1954 Project to Create Involuntary Assassins. Now here's the actual article right here. Again, CIA documents tell of 1954 project to create involuntary assassins. Okay. So this is in 1954. That's 70 years ago that there were CIA documents at that time already having a project involving creating involuntary assassins. So let's take a look a little bit about this. So what it says, it's an archived article. So it says February 8th, this Central Intelligence Agency began a study in 11954 to find out whether a person could be secretly induced to commit an assassination against his will, newly released government documents have disclosed. It was the first documentary evidence that the CIA had contemplated such a situation. So I'm not going to be diving into that because I've got a lot more else to show you, but right here, this is a declassified document. This is literally on CIA.gov describing Project MKUltra, right? So Project MKUltra, or MKUltra, was a code name for a covert CIA mind control and chemical interrogation research program run by the Office of Scientific Intelligence. This official U.S. government program began in the early 50s, continuing through the late 60s, and it supposedly used U.S. citizens as unwitting test subjects. The published evidence indicates that Project MKUltra involved the use of many types of drugs as well as other methods to manipulate individual mental states to alter brain function. Okay, so again, and I'm not going to be diving into this, but this is, again, another declassified document. But here's something right here that I think is really worth looking at. Okay, so this is an article, and interestingly enough, this was in the High Times in January 1980. And I read some of this in one of my previous shows, but it's worth taking a look at as we're exploring this hypothesis. So in this article, again, this is from 1980. I'll zoom in a little bit. It says, ex-CIA doc leads fight to limit hypnosis. Okay, it seems pretty, I guess innocent. So it says, hypnotherapist Dr. Milton V. Klein, former consultant to the CIA's super secret behavior modification project Bluebird, is currently campaigning for strict legal constraints on hypnosis, limiting its use to trained members of the health professions. During the early 60s, when the CIA was covertly funneling millions of tax stars into a variety of brainwashing experiments involving LSD, other hallucinogens, and electroshock, Klein provided expertise on hypnosis. He was outspoken in his belief that one of the central goals of these experiments, to create a hypnotized remote control assassin, was entirely possible, though he denies knowledge of any terminal experience that would have tested his theories. So this is really, okay, look at this. The fictional Manchurian candidate presented in Richard Condon's Thriller and later in a movie starring Frank Sinatra is, in Klein's mind, still a frighteningly real specter. Quote, it cannot be done by everyone, it cannot be done consistently, but it can be done. So Klein claims that given the proper subject and circumstances, by using hypnosis, he could produce such a killer in 3 to 6 weeks, right? His strong beliefs about the use of hypnosis as a technique of coercive persuasion to produce antisocial or criminal behavior are one of the reasons why he advocates legal restrictions on the practice. And actually, he actually spoke to High Times in his office and discussed this. So again, look at that. This guy's saying this is a hypnotherapist coming out and saying that given the proper subject and circumstances, by using hypnosis, he could produce such a killer in 3 to 6 weeks. So now I'm surprised that we haven't seen an NBC or ABC article coming out and saying all these right-wing conspiracy theorists are saying that this guy was MK Ultra. This is some, conspiracy. It's like, no, this is real. I mean, back in 70 years ago, and who knows, even before then, a lot of this goes back into Operation Paperclip, when they brought all the German Nazis in, because the German Nazis were also studying the same exact stuff, right? They were studying behavior modification, a lot of the brainwashing techniques as well. So that all came into our government, post World War II. We had all the Nazis coming in, and we invited them in, saying, "Hey, you know what? Come on, join our government. Help us create more, deep state programs to control the populace." And so this goes back that far. So here we are in 2024, and if you look at this technology they had back at that time, to think that, okay, is there a possibility that they had this same, or that they have even more advanced ways of controlling people? I mean, it could be, maybe it's certain drugs or pharmaceuticals that interact with certain technology. Maybe there's 5G technology that can activate things and control people. I mean, like in 10 years, we'll look back at it and be like, oh yeah, that technology that was certainly around at that time. So there's a lot of possibility of what could be happening. And there's so much about this case that, again, points to the fact that if you look at this lone gunman, Crooks, I don't believe it was a lone gunman. I showed in the last show this video of somebody up on the water tower. There's a lot of indications. Mike Adams has done detailed reports showing the sound tracing to show that there was multiple different weapons that were fired. Wasn't just the sniper and the other guy. There was multiple guns involved. So it seemed that there was multiple shooters. But again, if you look at the playbook, it's about setting up a patsy. It's about setting up the fall guy. And one of the easiest ways to set up the fall guy is to take some kid who's already socially isolated. Maybe the parents are working with the CIA to set this up. And I was reading somewhere else, the guy was part of some of these gifted programs, right? So the programs are little kids, they pull them out of school for a day or so, and these gifted programs that end up actually being early training grounds to seeing whether they can actually continue on in the CIA programs. And so there's just a lot of evidence that suggests this guy was one of the ideal candidates, and that it was just too easy. Okay, hey, great, we're gonna take him, we're gonna separate him, we're gonna pull him into our training and set him up so that he's the guy that when that day comes, he gets his command. And just like Manchurian Candidate, you've heard it, whether the command is certain keywords or a combination or a sound, and before you know it, he's up there carrying out exactly what needs to be done. So again, you're smart people, you can make up your own mind on this, but to me, there's just so much evidence that points to something very, very sinister that's going on. This wasn't just some lone gunman that we had some beef with Republicans and hated President Trump. I mean, it's by this point, the only people saying that are the FBI and the CIA and the mainstream media. Everyone else with half a brain is saying, you know what, this doesn't really add up. There's something going on here. All right. So as we round out the show, I always enjoy doing something fun, and exciting. So there's Matt Walsh, right, over from Daily Wire, who, I'm not sure if you saw the movie What is a Woman. He has a new movie coming out, it looks absolutely incredible. Now, the movie comes out, I think, in September, and it's called Am I a Racist? So I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for you, because it's so good. It's so good. And it's a good laugh. So it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But actually, if the audio, let me know if the audio is okay. I'll see if I can do on my end while I'm kind of watching it. But hopefully the audio is okay on this video, because it's just really, really good. Okay, so let's play this for you.
Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much. At least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man is at the top of the pile.
I was on the top of the pile, that's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
is America inherently racist?
What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherent.
Yeah. The entire system has to burn. And I'm not even going to save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys in your anti-racist journeys? So look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We will rename George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will? What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gon' say I'm racist.
What's up with white people?
What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making the decision? Why are you doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you.
So, again, I apologize if there's any echoes again, folks. We'll get that fixed. But so that movie, Am I Racist? I think it's coming out in September, which I'm looking forward to because as you know, there's not a whole lot of good movies in the box office. They're mostly just actually garbage. Unfortunately, it's Hollywood is just completely gone to the dogs. So anyway, folks, I apologize for the echo, but one final note for you is just another documentary that I'm not going to play a trailer. Don't worry, no video. But this movie coming out, Beneath Sheets Clothing, coming out in August. Again, bookmark this one. This is a really, really good one. This is person at the center of this is Julie Belling, who was a woman that was a missionary in post, like right after Soviet Union fell, and experienced and saw everything post-communism over there, and then came over here and she's seen the exact same things happening. And so this film, Beneath Sheep's Clothing, which you can pre-order now, it's coming out in August 2024. The URL is beneathsheepsclothing.movie. Okay, so beneathsheepsclothing.movie is going to be an incredible documentary exposing all of the Marxist and communist influence that is here in America and what the end game is. It's an absolutely incredible documentary that you're going to have to see. So again, beneathsheepsclothing.movie is the URL. You can pre-order, you can donate, you can watch the trailers. Here it says, look, this is not fiction. This is a wake-up call to the American people, to everyone with children in schools, to Christians, and to anyone who cares about freedom. That's the documentary. All right, so folks, it's been a wonderful night for you. Last reminder, make sure you go to maninamerica.com/win, enter to win your silver. I appreciate all of you. Again, I apologize for the audio issues tonight. We've actually got an audio engineer coming in the next couple of days to really help us revamp this system because we've done our best with it, but and we've got good technology and good equipment, but sometimes it's just that extra pizzazz of a person that specifically does this. So these issues will be resolved. I really appreciate your patience. And great, it's, folks, it's always great. I love being on here with you. And we're getting to a more regular schedule. It looks like I'm trying to get to a schedule of Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. So Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, there's a show waiting for you, mostly here on Rumble, which I encourage, Rumble and Twitter. So folks, again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Take care and God bless.